This video is brought to you by PrizePicks. Hey, what's up, everybody, and welcome to QnA, the show where I take your questions and answer them here in video format. A ton of questions to get into, so let's just jump into it. This is from Dr. Napalm, who says this: do you think that if Watson and Shedeur continue to underperform in camp in the preseason games, and especially at the start of the season, Todd's plan B would be Dillon Gabriel? And with a lot of design runs with Quincy, it's frustrating. While Denzel, Boston, Case, and Concepcion are having a really good camp, we don't have competent quarterback play. I think plan A is run the ball a lot, right? If you can't do that with Deshaun, you can't do that with Shedeur, you're probably not going to be able to do that with Dillon, and you're probably just going to be a little bit bad, right? Like, that's just the reality. The Browns quarterback room right now, they're already on plan B. You know what I mean? Plan A is have a quarterback that you believe in, or be able to acquire a quarterback somehow that you believe in enough to run the full offense with. Right now, they're already on plan B, right? Shedeur and Deshaun are competing to be the quarterback that can manage the game and hand the ball to Quincy and occasionally make a couple plays in the passing game, right? We're not asking either of these quarterbacks to go out there and throw 50 times a game. So the reality is, if that plan doesn't work out, if the Browns' plan right now doesn't work out, like, I don't think switching to Dillon Gabriel changes that plan. It's just seeing if another body can do it. And what's the plan after that? There's no plan after that. You're just going to stink a little bit, right? Your offense is just going to suffer a little bit. You know what I mean? That's kind of just the reality of it. We'll see where we get. Let's hope that we don't get to that place. But the reality is, we're already at plan B with this quarterback room. You know what I mean? This is not a quarterback room that we're going to, that they plan on investing money in the future, right? This is just what's here, what they could have for the money that they were willing to spend. You know what I mean? So, not to sound too negative about the quarterbacks, it's just the reality is, what you described as plan B is plan A for the Browns, right? Now, it's not going to be like all design runs for Quincy, but it's like, hey, they're going to run the ball like 350 times probably with Quincy Judkins. You know what I mean? Like, Quincy's going to be top 5 in carries if he stays healthy. That's the plan. You know what I mean? And that's what you described as plan B. That's not plan B. That is the plan for quarterback. You know what I mean? And if they can't do that with Shedeur, Deshaun, then they'll try to do it with Dillon. If they can't do it with Dillon, they might make a trade, or they just roll out the one who does it who does it bad. How do I describe this? They'll throw out the one who stinks the least for the rest of the season. That's what it'd be, and they'll try to see what they can get from that. Staples Clive says this: should we be worried about Spencer Fano still needing to get up to speed? No. Let Spencer take his time. The offensive line, when you draft people on the offensive or defensive line, you have to be patient. You cannot rush it, because those are the positions that take the longest to get to NFL level, right? There's going to be an acclimation period. There's going to be a growth period. Very few prospects go from college to the NFL along the line of scrimmage and start dominating right away. So, yeah, let Spencer Fano take its time. Same way we're letting Mason Graham take its time. And Mason Graham, by the time we got to the bye week, was showing us exactly why he was the number 5 pick. Don't know if it's going to be that fast for Spencer. I would hope so. But Spencer Fano, that's going to take some time. No need to rush it. No need to rush it at all. Evil Lincoln says this: hey, Q, love the content. My question is not actually NFL related. What are your thoughts on Cleveland's new WNBA team, the Cleveland Sirens? I seem to recall you talking with Cole from time to time about the WNBA. You actually keep up with it to a degree. Also, an announcement trailer is pretty sick if you haven't seen it already. Yeah, I've seen it. I've been keeping up with it. I think the Sirens is a cool name. The funny thing about like a team name is that it's always going to take a little while to get used to a new team name, right? Like our standard for team names are team names that usually have existed for like hundreds of years. Like the Cleveland Browns only make sense as a team name because we've been calling them the Cleveland Browns in Cleveland since 1942. But I promise you, during the first Brown season, somebody was like, the Cleveland Browns? That don't make no sense. Where the mascot's a elf? You know what I mean? Like, none of this sounds right when you first start. You know what I mean? Like the Ohio State Buckeyes probably didn't sound right when somebody said it for the first time in 1800. But over time, we say it so much that we just get used to it. And that's what sports team names are, right? Like when the Commanders, when the Redskins got changed to the Commanders, it took a while for the Commanders to sound normal to me. But now the Commanders sounds normal to me, right? Because I'm not trying to fight it. Like, it's just like, okay, they're the Commanders now. Let's call them the Commanders. It's like when a wrestler switches from like AEW to WWE, WWE to AEW, they get a new name, and it's weird for like the first year. And then now you're just calling the guy's name. You know what I mean? This happened with Walter when he changed to being Gunther in WWE. Everybody freaked out. And then now he's just Gunther. Everybody's just used to calling him Gunther, right? New names, people always ridicule them when they first happen. Even though the Sirens, I've heard pretty good acceptance because it's a cool name. Makes sense. It's a women's basketball team. Sirens, obviously. And then like the body of water, it highlights in Cleveland. I think it's an awesome name. But like for some people, it's going to be weird calling the team that because they're just not used to calling the team that. But that's what happens with every team name. You will get used to any team name over time. I root for a school whose mascot is the Penguins, the Youngstown State Penguins. That didn't make sense when I first got there. When I graduated, I was Penguin down. You know what I mean? The Browns. Think about it. Does it actually make sense that they're called the Browns? No, but we've just called them that for so long that we're just used to it. So it sounds normal to us. New team names always need time to kind of just sit because this happened with the Guardians, right? Where I remember everybody was, and some people still to this day freak out about the Indians being changed to the Guardians. But like now it's like, I just call them the Guardians. I don't really think about it that much because I'm used to calling them the Guardians. You know what I mean? That's just how team names work. Dear Moss says, hey Q, I want to hear more about the offensive line when you feel comfortable diving deeper on evaluating the big guys. I will look at the offensive line once we get preseason tape. That will be when I can really evaluate them. Films by Dom says this. Hey, what's up? Hope all is well. Do you think if Shador or Deshaun Watson don't separate themselves, you give them the first 6 games to Deshaun Watson, and then if needed, turn it over to Shador? I personally think so because, one, it will be easier to bench Deshaun Watson and Shador Sanders than the other way around. Yeah, I agree with that. And I think you let the vet get the first 6 games and see what you have. I think the Browns are hoping that Deshaun Watson can play at a level during the preseason and in training camp to where they can do that. The big question is, will the play from Deshaun Watson justify that plan? Because ultimately, it has to justify it, right? I think this is what they want to do. I think they want to play Deshaun Watson for the first 6 games and then transfer it over to Shador, right? I think they're looking at Shador like a rookie. You know what I mean? But what you want to do and what you got to do can be 2 different things. And in order for them to do what they want to do, what Deshaun has to do is play well enough to justify it. And right now, he has not played well enough to eliminate the conversation from happening, which has been a problem for this team. Azaka Hop says this. Now that Dylan Gabriel is getting first team reps, does Todd Monken think the QB1 job is not debatable between Sanders and Watson, or are they seeing if he can be a decent QB 2 and 3? I think that's more or less the lines of it, right? Like if you need to see if Dylan Gabriel can be the backup quarterback, then you need to see him with the ones every once in a while. Not every day, not every week, but you need to see him with them every once in a while. And I think that's just what they're doing. And I think Dylan also has earned these reps with the ones. And he's earned that opportunity. And when you see guys practicing well, playing well, you got to reward them to keep them motivated. And I think that's a management tactic part, right? Like a lot of what we're hearing about DeJuan Jones right now, right? I think Tony Grossi was dropping an article about how the Browns are seriously considering starting DeJuan Jones. That you have to do that when you're the Cleveland Browns because you got to keep guys motivated, right? So DeJuan Jones is going out there and he's practicing good. You got to give him something, right? You got to give him a cookie. You know what I mean? Okay, let's put you with the ones. Okay, let's keep you with the ones. Let's see if we can maybe put you at right tackle, right? Because you need to reward people who are playing well in practice when you're trying to establish something very new here, right? So I think that's just another part of it. We're going to continue with more questions, but first I got to thank my sponsor, PrizePicks. PrizePicks is America's #1 sports app. The app is really easy to use for player picks. Just pick more or less for a few player stats and lock in your lineup. That's it. Rather just pick teams, well, PrizePicks has that now too. Just pick the winner, spread, or total in any game or fight. PrizePicks is available in most states, including California, Texas, and Florida. Plus, you can even follow me on the app at Quinn_C and tell my picks with one click and follow your friends too. Speaking of my picks, here they are. Myles Garrett over 15.75 sacks. 16's been his baseline the last few years. I'd be very surprised if he goes to LA and that number drops, given that he's going to see more passing attempts, given that LA's offense is better than what the Browns have been. Quincy Judkins, 924 yards. They had two really good picks for Quincy here, 6 touchdowns or 924 yards. I feel comfortable taking more on both, but 1,000 yards feels like a safer bet for Quincy. I think he's going to have a big year this year. Carson Schlesinger, 2.25 sacks. I'm saying more. Remember, Mike Rutenberg likes to blitz his linebackers a lot more than the previous defensive coordinator the Cleveland Browns had. Also, Carson Schlesinger is probably going to have to get involved as a sack producer to make up for the hole that they're going to have to make up for Myles Garrett. And then Shedeur Sanders starting more than 7.5 games. I think he'll be the starter, play about 8 games or more this year. But that's my picks for this season. Best of all, play your first $5 and get $150 in lineups if you win. Just use the promo code HMA when you sign up. Again, that's your first $5 and get $150 in lineups if you win when you use the promo code HMA. PrizePicks has switched up their offer. There's no better time to join, lock in, and win that first lineup. All right, we're back, and we're going to get this question from Josiah, who says this: Hey, Q, you think Isaiah Bond will get playing time? I would love for him to get all the playing time he can get. I think he can really be a playmaker with his speed. See, if this were Kevin Stefanski's offense, I would know exactly what the plan is for Isaiah Bond because, he had a defined role for that kind of a player. Todd Monken's a little different, but what I imagine Isaiah Bond is going to be in there is, similar to a change of pace back. You know how sometimes teams will have a bruising back and then they'll have a quicker, more athletic back who's the change of pace, right? It's a similar concept, but it's just for wide receiver, right? You have Denzel Boston, who's going to be physical and taxing and really hard to stop. You got to put a bigger corner on him. And then as a change of pace, throw in Isaiah Bond, run right past him, get a big play there. I think that's what Isaiah Bond's role is going to look like. It's going to remind a lot of people of what Travis Benjamin used to look like. Oh my God, this is going to make me feel old. It's what Travis Benjamin, for those of you who remember, it's going to remind you of what Travis Benjamin looked like in the Cleveland Browns offense 10 years ago when Kyle Shanahan was the offensive coordinator. I've seen Rivers, watching this Browns team. Oh my goodness, that was a long, long time ago. Why did I just throw that out there people would just know Travis Benjamin? Shout out to y'all in the chat. Y'all know who Travis Benjamin is, man. But it's going to be similar to that. That's, I think, the game plan for him. I think some folks are looking at this quarterback competition wrong. This is from Daryl C. It's about who has the most potential. Green has the most potential. Unlikely he gets it unlocked, however. It's about who is the least likely to lose games for us. Whoever is QB needs less that 25 pass per game. Okay, whoever is a QB is probably going to be passing less than 25 times a game, handing the ball off, no pre-snap issues, no bad sacks, no turnovers, make layups. I believe that is the task at hand. Am I wrong? I don't think you're wrong. I just don't think the Browns quarterback room is filled with personnel that would do that, right? That's the big thing. What the Browns want to be versus what they have at quarterback are two completely different things. Because I agree with you. I think what they want to be is a run-heavy team that can live with that kind of quarterback play. But what they have at quarterback are guys who will be occasional playmakers, right? I think Shedeur more frequently than Deshaun Watson, but both guys would be firmly in the category of occasional playmakers, which is occasionally they'll make a nice throw and make a nice play, and hopefully you can get 2 or 3 of them in a game, and you can score on those possessions and get 21 points. That's what they have, right? What they don't have is a bunch of game managers in there, right? They got Dylan Gabriel, but Dylan's big problem is that he might not be physically capable of throwing the ball downfield, which means that defenses don't even have to entertain the idea of playing him straight up. So, yeah, I agree with you. I agree that's how we should be looking at this quarterback competition, but I do wonder how much the play styles of these players not matching that changes the evaluation process over time. Q, 2 questions, please. This is from Sergio Ortiz. We haven't heard much about Harold Fannin in training camp. Is that noteworthy? No, it's not. Harold Fannin's been great. It's more of a symptom of people just like, you can only talk about how good Harold Fannin is, right? So many times before you just get tired of writing articles about it. That's kind of what I've been hearing is the case. Harold Fannin's good. Have you heard anything about Carson Schwarzenegger's small injury that's held him out for almost a week? It's been a little mysterious on that front, but they don't think it's major. We'll see what happens with this next week. So I'm on wait and see mode with that injury specifically. All right. Hayden says this. Hey, Q, is it early? I know it's early, but has camp given me more optimism about Shedeur's progression than you had going into camp? I'm about the same as I am on Shedeur than I was before camp, to be honest with you. Nothing's really changed, but they'll start working on situational stuff soon. That's where there's potential for my opinion to change. Austin Frank says, hey, Q, are media and the fans over-analyzing the quarterback competition? Quarterback tracker, and all I see is everybody criticizing each throw, saying it was all dreadful when it's just practice. No QB on the team right now is blowing it all up at practice. I just want to see how they play in preseason and go from there. Love the content. Thanks. It's interesting because, like, for fans, how they play in the preseason is going to be the most important. But for the coaches, how they practice is going to be much more important. And how they do in the classroom is going to be important, which we don't get a glimpse of how these guys are doing in the classroom, right? We only get small glimpses of what happens on the field. So, like, realistically, we're trying to judge this quarterback competition with like 12% of the actual information that will be critical to making the decision. Which is why we should always be careful about making grand declarations on what should happen or what we think is obvious should happen based on like practices, right? Because we really don't know everything. And I try to be cautious of that when I talk about this quarterback room and talk about evaluating this quarterback room. That being said, to your question of are fans over-analyzing the quarterback competition, I think what we're seeing is a lack of analysis over the quarterback competition. Like, people will call it analysis, but what it actually is reacting. People are overreacting to the quarterback competition. They're not analyzing anything, though. Like, if you actually listen to like some of the talk about this quarterback competition, it's very little analysis going on, and it's just people throwing the same shit at the wall that they were throwing before the competition even started. So I don't think we're overanalyzing because I don't think most people are analyzing the quarterback competition at all. I think it's severely underanalyzed, to be honest with you. Like, people aren't exercising critical thinking in this whole thing. I think it's just overreacted to. I think we're overreacting, and I think that's the better word to describe what your frustration was. But that's going to be it for Q&A. I want to thank everybody for dropping their questions in. There were a ton of acts to dig through this week. I'm sorry, I'm struggling to find words to express my gratitude. But there were a ton to dig through. Appreciate you guys commenting, interacting. Hope you guys continue to enjoy what I'm putting out here. But y'all have a great day. Have an even better night. Peace.